Welcome to Grimfire, where every shadow hides a story. Subscribe now and step into the darkness.
Well, look who refused to die quietly. Look who's still standing. Look who's still breathing. When the obituary was already written, when the casket was measured, when they'd already divided up your belongings in their minds and moved on with their pathetic little lives. But here you are, flesh and blood and fury, walking through a world that swore you wouldn't make it past Tuesday, let alone the decade of absolute chaos they threw at you. So let me ask you something, and I want you to sit with this question like it's a loaded weapon pointed at your reflection. What the actual hell are you? No, seriously, answer me. Because normal people, average people, the 99% who populate this planet like extras in your story, they fold, they crack, they shatter, they disintegrate under a fraction, a microscopic sliver of what you absorbed and kept moving. They get cheated on once, and it's therapy for years. They lose one job, and it's an identity crisis. One friend betrays them, and they're writing manifestos about trust issues. But you magnificent freak of nature, you didn't just survive one betrayal. You survived the entire betrayal box set, the director's cut with bonus footage and deleted scenes. You didn't just lose one thing, you lost everything that mattered, and then watched them celebrate your collapse like it was New Year's Eve in their twisted little universe. They threw you into the fire expecting ashes, but you walked out forged, sharpened, glowing with something they'd never seen before and couldn't name if their lives depended on it. You absorbed damage that would have put seasoned veterans in padded rooms, that would have sent athletes into early retirement, that would have made celebrities write memoirs and build entire brands around their trauma. But you just added it to the resume and kept climbing. No parade, no press release, no sympathy tour, just silence and forward motion that terrified everyone who thought they'd seen the last of you. Let's talk about what you actually survived, not the sanitized version, not the Instagram caption, not the therapy session highlight reel. Let's talk about the raw, unfiltered, bone-deep destruction that rewired your entire nervous system. You survived being abandoned by people who promised forever. You survived watching love turn into weaponized indifference overnight. You survived betrayal from the ones you'd have died for, the ones who knew your weaknesses intimately because you trusted them with the blueprint to your soul. You survived isolation so complete it felt like you'd been erased from reality itself, like you were screaming in a soundproof room while the world moved on without missing a beat. You survived financial ruin that wasn't just about money, it was about dignity, stripped away in broad daylight, about competence questioned, about worth measured in numbers that suddenly flatlined. You survived health crises that made you question if your body was a vehicle or a prison, if pain was temporary or your new permanent address. You survived loss, not the poetic kind they write songs about, but the kind that guts you in the middle of a random Tuesday and leaves you functioning on autopilot while your soul bleeds out in private. You survived being misunderstood so profoundly that explaining yourself felt like translating poetry to people who only speak violence. You survived watching your dreams get delayed, destroyed, dismissed as delusion by people whose biggest ambition was comfort and whose greatest fear was anyone who wanted more. You survived being called too much, too intense, too sensitive, too ambitious, too difficult, too broken, too damaged to love, when the truth was you were simply too real for people who lived in carefully constructed lies. You survived nights where sleep was a luxury you couldn't afford because anxiety was your roommate and depression was paying rent. You survived mornings where getting out of bed felt like lifting a mountain, where showering felt like climbing Everest, where facing another day felt like volunteering for torture. But here's what kills me. Here's what absolutely destroys their comfortable little narratives. You didn't just survive this. You survived it quietly. You didn't broadcast your breakdowns on social media begging for validation. You didn't weaponize your pain for sympathy points. You didn't build a victim brand and sell courses on suffering. You took that damage like bullets to a vest, absorbed the impact, checked for bleeding, and kept moving. You cried in cars and showers and behind closed doors where no one could see, where no one could use your vulnerability as ammunition later. You screamed into pillows and punched walls when no one was watching. processed your rage in private because you knew showing weakness would only bring more predators. And they watched. Oh yes, they watched. They watched, waiting for the collapse, waiting for the meltdown, waiting for the moment you'd prove them right about you being too fragile for this world. They had their phones ready to screenshot your breakdown, their group chats prepared to dissect your downfall, their egos inflated at the prospect of watching someone who made them uncomfortable finally break in a way that would make them feel superior. But you never gave them that satisfaction, did you? You never gave them the show they were so desperately craving, the vindication they needed to justify their own stagnation. Instead, you did something they couldn't comprehend. You transmuted that pain into something they'd never seen before. You took every betrayal and turned it into discernment so sharp it could cut through lies before they fully formed. You took every loss and converted it into detachment so powerful that their manipulation tactics just slid off you like water off stone. You took every moment of isolation and used it to build a relationship with yourself so solid that their approval became irrelevant. Their rejection became background noise. Their opinions became weather you didn't even check anymore. You became unreachable, not because you were hiding, but because you evolved past the frequency they operate on. Now let's address the elephant in the room, the question that keeps them up at night, the mystery that haunts their comfortable existence. What are you? Because you're clearly not normal. Normal people don't bounce back from that kind of destruction. Normal people stay broken, stay bitter, stay stuck, replaying their trauma like a broken record. Normal people need years of therapy just to process what you processed in real time while still showing up to work, still paying bills, still maintaining some semblance of functionality. Normal people write books about surviving half of what you survived before breakfast. You're not superhuman, let's be clear about that. Because superhumans are fictional characters with convenient plot armor. You're something more terrifying than fiction. You're what happens when a human being refuses to die, no matter how many times reality tries to delete them. You're the glitch in the system that exposes how fragile everyone else's resilience actually is. You're the living proof that most people's breaking point is embarrassingly low, that most people's pain threshold is a joke, that most people's survival instincts are decorative at best. You're the uncomfortable reminder that they would have quit at chapter 1 of your story. They look at you now and they see something that doesn't compute, something that breaks their understanding of how trauma works, how pain functions, how damage accumulates. They see someone who should be bitter, but carries peace. Someone who should be closed, but somehow still capable of connection. Someone who should be weak, but radiates a strength that makes them nervous. They see scars, but no victim mentality. They see wounds, but no weaponized suffering. They see a past that should have destroyed you, but somehow became your foundation instead. And that terrifies them, because it means their excuses are invalid. You know what really gets them twisted? It's not that you survived. Plenty of people survive. Survival is passive. Survival is just not dying. What breaks their brains is that you're thriving. That you took all that damage and somehow came out sharper, wiser, more powerful than you were before the storm. You're not just alive, you're awake in a way that makes them realize they've been sleepwalking through existence. You're not just functioning. You're operating on a level they didn't know was possible for someone with your history. You're not just healed. You're evolved, transformed, upgraded by the very things that were supposed to downgrade you to obsolete. They wanted to see you crawling, and you're sprinting. They expected to see you begging, and you're building. They thought you'd be bitter, and you're strategic. They assumed you'd be broken, and you're becoming. They predicted you'd be stuck. And you're scaling heights they can't even imagine from their position at base camp, making excuses about the weather. You took their worst predictions for your life and turned them into false prophecies, inaccurate forecasts, expired warnings that only documented their limited imagination and their inability to conceive of genuine transformation. Let me tell you what you actually are, and I need you to hear this because the world will never say it out loud. You are dangerous, not in the way they want to frame it, not violent, not unstable, not reckless. You're dangerous because you represent what's possible when someone refuses to accept defeat as destiny. You're dangerous because your existence is a threat to every excuse, every justification, every comfortable lie people tell themselves about why they can't change, can't grow, can't overcome. You're dangerous because you walked through hell and came back with souvenirs instead of scars that define you. You're dangerous because you can't be controlled anymore. You can't be manipulated with guilt because you've already processed yours. You can't be managed with fear because you've already faced your worst nightmares and survived them. You can't be bought with approval because you learned to approve of yourself. You can't be intimidated because you've already been to the bottom and know exactly what survival looks like from the basement of existence. You're dangerous because you have nothing left to lose and everything to gain, because rock bottom became your launching pad, because the void they tried to push you into became your meditation chamber. Because the void they tried to push you into became your meditation chamber. You're dangerous because you don't need them anymore. And that's the ultimate power shift. You don't need their validation to know your worth. You don't need their acceptance to know you belong. You don't need their love to know you're lovable. You don't need their friendship to know you're valuable. You don't need their approval to know you're on the right path. You became self-sufficient in ways that terrify people whose entire identity depends on being needed, on being central, on being the source of something you clearly don't require from them anymore. You cut the strings they didn't even know they were pulling. Here's what they'll never tell you, but I will. They're studying you now. They're watching closer than ever, not with the mocking curiosity of before, but with genuine fear disguised as interest. They're trying to understand how you did it, what your secret is, what formula you discovered that they missed in their comfortable little lives. They're reverse engineering your transformation like it's alien technology, trying to find the cheat code, the shortcut, the easy way to replicate what you achieved through absolute agony and relentless forward motion despite every rational reason to quit. They want your strength without your struggle. They want your wisdom without your wounds. They want your power without your pain. They want to download your operating system without understanding that it was written in tears and rewritten in rage and debugged in despair and optimized through repetition of getting back up when staying down was easier. They want the destination without the journey, the trophy without the training, the crown without the crucible. But that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. And deep down, they know it. Which is why they resent you even more. You see, your transformation is a mirror they can't escape, and mirrors don't lie. They just reflect what's actually there versus what we pretend to see. Every time they look at you, they see their own potential unrealized, their own excuses exposed, their own comfort zone revealed as the prison it actually is. Every time you win, they're reminded of the times they quit. Every time you rise, they're confronted with the times they stayed down. Every time you grow, they're forced to acknowledge their stagnation. You're not trying to make them feel bad, you're just existing authentically. But your authentic existence is a threat to their carefully maintained delusions. They'll try to diminish what you did. They'll call it luck. They'll say you had advantages they didn't. They'll rewrite history to make your struggle seem less severe and their comfort seem more justified. They'll say you're exaggerating, you're being dramatic, you're playing victim, when ironically, you're the only one not playing victim in this scenario. They'll minimize your pain because accepting the full weight of what you survived means accepting that they would have crumbled under a fraction of that pressure. They need you to be less impressive so they can feel less inadequate. But facts don't care about their feelings, and the facts are brutal, undeniable, and etched in the timeline of your existence. The facts are you survived what would have deleted 99% of people. And I'm not exaggerating for effect. I'm being conservative, if anything. The average person would have tapped out at round 1, would have thrown in the towel before the real fight even started, would have called it quits when things got uncomfortable, let alone when they got catastrophic. The average person needs safe spaces for mild discomfort, needs trigger warnings for reality, needs participation trophies for showing up. You survived an avalanche of actual destruction with nothing but your will to survive. You know what's really twisted? They wanted you broken because it would have validated their own weakness. It would have proven that your intensity, your sensitivity, your depth was a liability, not an asset. They needed you to fail, Because your success implies their mediocrity isn't inevitable. It's a choice they make every day when they choose comfort over growth. They needed you to stay down because you getting up meant they had no excuse for staying horizontal. Your continued existence as a functional, evolving being is an indictment of their excuses, and they hate you for it, even as they're fascinated by you. So they watch, and they whisper, and they wonder. But they'll never ask you directly, because that would require vulnerability. That would require admitting they see something in you they wish they had. Instead, they'll analyze from a distance, they'll theorize in group chats, they'll create narratives that preserve their ego while trying to decode your transformation. They'll say you changed, and they're right, but they'll say it like it's an accusation when it's actually a compliment. You did change. You evolved. You shed every version of yourself that wasn't built for the level you're operating on now. Let me get darker for a second. Let me go where most motivational content won't go, because they're too busy selling hope like it's candy. The truth is, you didn't just survive, you died. Multiple times, in fact. Not physically, but every other way that matters. You died when that betrayal hit, when that loss landed, when that failure arrived, when that rejection registered. You felt the life drain out of old versions of yourself. Felt your identity crack and crumble, felt your beliefs about how the world works shatter like glass under a hammer. You experienced ego death without psychedelics. You experienced spiritual annihilation without a ceremony. And here's the part they'll never understand. You let it happen. You didn't cling to who you were. You didn't try to preserve the old you. You didn't fight the transformation. You surrendered to the death of who you were so you could become who you needed to be. You let the fire burn away everything that wasn't essential, everything that wasn't authentic, everything that was just programming from a world that never had your best interests at heart. You let yourself be destroyed so you could be reconstructed according to your own blueprint, not theirs. That takes a level of courage they'll never possess. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the willingness to walk through the fear, into the unknown, with no guarantee of what's on the other side. Courage is letting yourself die internally while still maintaining external functionality, still showing up to life, even when every cell in your body is screaming for you to hide, quit, disappear. Courage is feeling everything break inside you and choosing to keep breathing, keep moving, keep trying, when every logical analysis suggests you should give up, because the odds are impossible. You rewired your entire operating system while the system was still running. You rebuilt the foundation while living in the house. You reprogrammed your brain while using that same brain to navigate reality. That's like performing surgery on yourself while staying conscious, like fixing the engine while the car is moving at highway speed. The complexity, the difficulty, the sheer improbability of what you pulled off is something they'll never grasp, because they've never had to attempt anything close to it. They've never had to operate at that level of simultaneous destruction and reconstruction. Now you're here, wherever here is for you, and you're looking around at a world that feels smaller somehow, like you outgrew it while you were busy surviving. You're looking at people who stressed over things that seem trivial now, who drama over situations that barely register as inconvenience on your scale. You're watching them complain about first world problems, while you're over here having survived third world, internal war-level destruction. And there's a disconnect, isn't there? A distance that wasn't there before. A separation that you can't quite bridge, even when you want to. That's because you're not one of them anymore, and you never will be again. You've seen too much, survived too much, processed too much, to ever go back to the innocent ignorance of thinking life is fair, people are good, and everything happens for a reason. You know now that life is random, chaos. People are complex and often selfish. And the only reason things happen is because reality doesn't care about your feelings, your plans, or your pain. You've been initiated into a club nobody wants to join, the Survivors of Catastrophic Damage Club, and the membership changes you permanently. But here's where it gets interesting. Here's where your story diverges from the typical survivor narrative. You didn't become bitter. You became better. You didn't close off. You opened up. Differently, more selectively, but more authentically. You didn't build walls, you built filters. Discernment so sharp it could cut through pretense before it fully formed. You didn't become cold, you became calculated, strategic about where you invest your energy and who gets access to your space. You learned that protection isn't the same as disconnection, that boundaries aren't the same as barriers. You learned that you can be soft and strong simultaneously, that vulnerability is only weakness when shared with people who weaponize it. That sensitivity is your superpower when you stop apologizing for it and start leveraging it. You learned that your depth isn't a flaw in a shallow world, it's an advantage. It means you see what others miss, feel what others ignore, understand what others can't comprehend. You learned that being too much for some people just means you're exactly right for the few who matter, and those few are worth more than the many who never really saw you anyway. You learned that healing isn't linear. It's not a straight line from broken to fixed, it's a spiral where you revisit old wounds at new altitudes, process old pain with new tools, understand old trauma with new wisdom. You learned that you don't need to be fully healed to be fully functional, that you can be a work in progress and a masterpiece simultaneously, that becoming is more important than being, because being implies stagnation and becoming implies evolution. You learn that your scars don't make you damaged goods, they make you limited edition, one of one, irreplicable. You learn that revenge is unnecessary when you become unrecognizable, when you evolve so far past where they left you that encountering them again would be like meeting ants when you've become a giant. You learned that the best response to people who tried to destroy you is not anger, but indifference, not confrontation, but elevation. Not revenge, but becoming so successful that your name becomes the story they tell about the one that got away, the one they underestimate, the one they'll regret doubting for the rest of their small lives. Do you learn that success isn't just about money or status, it's about peace, about building a life that doesn't require you to pretend, perform, or prove anything to anyone. It's about waking up without dread, going through your day without constant anxiety, sleeping without nightmares. It's about being able to look in the mirror and recognize the person staring back. About being proud of who you're becoming, not despite your past, but because of how you handled it. It's about knowing that whatever comes next, you can handle it, because you've already handled worse. And that's what makes you untouchable now. Not invulnerable, you can still be hurt, but untouchable in the sense that nothing they do can reach the core of who you've become. They can talk, and you won't crumble. They can leave, and you won't chase. They can lie, and you won't believe. They can try to manipulate, and you'll see through it immediately. They can attempt to guilt you, and you'll recognize it as their problem, not yours. They can do everything that used to work, and it will bounce off you like arrows off armor forged in fire they can't imagine. You've become the worst nightmare of manipulators, abusers, narcissists, and energy vampires everywhere, not because you're aggressive or confrontational, but because you're immune. You've developed antibodies to their tactics. You've seen their playbook so many times you could recite it backward. You've felt their patterns so deeply you can predict their moves before they make them. You've become unmanipulatable, ungaslightable, uncontrollable. And that's the ultimate power shift, because their entire existence depends on people they can control. They hate that they lost you, but they hate even more that you clearly won without them, that you thrived in their absence, that their presence was the problem, not the solution. They hate that you don't need closure from them. You don't need apologies that will never come. You don't need them to admit they were wrong or acknowledge your pain. They hate that you moved on so completely that nostalgia doesn't touch you, that memories don't haunt you, that what used to be your everything is now just a chapter you reference in past tense. They hate that they became irrelevant to your story.